Hello, welcome back to Alyssa Jean's Reviews, and this will be my mid-season review for Star Trek Discovery. Season 5, good to be back. This is my first pre-recorded video of 2024. If you follow my channel, you know that I am basically not doing any content on this channel anymore, except for an occasional review, an occasional live stream. I did a live stream in March. I will do another live stream in June, and I'd always planned to do at least one Discovery review. I was never actually guaranteeing this mid-season review. I was guaranteeing that I would at least do the end of the season review, but I decided I'm going to do 2 Discovery reviews. This mid-season review will cover Season 5, Episodes 1 through 5. So obviously, if you haven't seen up through the end of those episodes, then you would not want to watch this video unless you don't mind being spoiled. So, I'll start with my overall thoughts of this first half of the season. And I'm very hesitant because I really feel that this was a very strong first half of a season, and I'll get into some of the reasons why in just a minute. But I'm hesitant because I've been burned before, particularly by Discovery. Well, I just said the word burn. Let's not get into that whole fiasco. But the start of season 3, the season with the burn reveal, I wouldn't say was super amazing, but there's some strong episodes. The episode when they went back to Earth was really good. There were some solid episodes to start season 3, and then it was disappointing with the burn reveal being kind of inconsequential. And then we go back a season earlier than that. Season 2 started off very strongly with the Pike stuff and Pike coming in there and getting the introduction of Anson Mount as Pike. And it actually started off much like what season 5 is doing, where they have this overall mission where they're trying to find something and they're going to these different episodic missions along the way. So in season 2, it was the Red Angel sightings that they were looking at. And that brought them to these different planets and brought them to these different self-contained episodes. But then eventually they kind of lost that format and brought in the whole control AI thing. And I don't know. Not that it was bad, because there were some great episodes in that season too, but kind of lost its way a little bit. Now stepping outside of Discovery, for another example in Modern Trek, a very recent example of a season starting off strong and then kind of going off the rails, we need look no further than Picard season 3, which I thought was excellent in the first half of the season. I loved that they brought back the changelings, and instead they're like, changelings are actually a red herring, Borg, Borgity Borg, and that was so disappointing. I think on the bright side of Discovery, I think it's almost impossible, like almost definitely not going to happen. And I hope I'm not eating my words, but I don't think I will, that they're going to repeat that same exact mistake, because they're not going to do the Borg. This isn't Picard. This isn't Next Generation characters. The Borg has no attachment to Discovery whatsoever. 7 of 9 isn't in here. So unlike Picard Season 3, which abandoned the changelings in favor of the Borg, I think we are going to stick with the brain. I love this. I love that they are picking out a very underdeveloped but interesting species from a previous Star Trek show and exploring them more. And I absolutely love this to death. And I've always been interested in the brain, so I love that they chose the brain. This is something that other modern Trek shows do, especially Lower Decks is really good at like picking out obscure aliens or obscure episodes and diving into them. Strange New Worlds has also done this to a lesser degree. So I'm happy to see that Discovery is getting on board with this. and uh, picking out the brain to explore. Not to mention picking out a really underrated episode from The Next Generation that I've always really enjoyed, which is The Chase, which has never been followed up on. They had this kind of big reveal in that episode way back in the Next Generation that every species in the galaxy um, can have its origins to one species, the progenitors, and that's why everybody has the same humanoid form, like 2 legs, 2 arms, torso, head, all that stuff. Um, it's because it comes from this origin species known as the progenitors, and then they were just like never brought it up again. So I am so glad that Discovery has gone back and decided to explore that. This is what makes Modern Trek great, is when they find things from the previous shows and were underexplored and explore them. And Discovery's not really done that as much, so I'm happy for that. Now, the biggest thing that I'm liking about the season so far that I still feel a little iffy on, though that this will continue throughout the rest of the season, is pacing. Pacing has always been an issue for Discovery, and I think the biggest reason for that is that it's had too many episodes. Season 4 so far is my favorite season of Discovery. I really appreciated the storyline with the 10C. I appreciated that the villain was was a little more nuanced than what we had in season 3 with Osira. I loved the Michael Burnham and book conflict. I thought the actors knocked it out of the park. A lot of great things in season 4 that I really loved, and it's my favorite season of Discovery thus far. But it was 13 episodes and it should have been 10, and the pacing was off in that season, just as it was in all of the Discovery seasons. This season starts off on the right foot just simply by actually reducing the number of episodes to 10, which is what the previous season should have had. There's only 10 episodes, so that bodes well for the pacing. And I would say the pacing's been excellent so far. Still a little hesitant because I could see it all crumbling apart in the second half of the season. But again, the bright side is they do only have 10 episodes, so that bodes well. So we'll see. We'll have to see moving forward. So thus far, happy, very, very happy actually with the first half of season 5 of Star Trek Discovery. Um, I do just kind of want to mention a couple of other things that, because I know that I share a lot of viewership with my brother over on Enchantment of Eternity. So if you watch his videos, there's a couple things he really doesn't like about Discovery that I just want to say don't bother me at all, or very minimally bother me. One being the cinematography choices that they make, the spinning cameras and the lens flares and those sorts of things. Is that my favorite kind of cinematography? No, but it doesn't bother me. And actually, I don't think I've noticed that as much the last couple episodes, anyways. But certainly, in the first couple episodes, they were doing that. And I mean, would I choose that as the form of cinematography if I had a choice? No, but I don't care. It's not really a big deal for me. Um, so the other thing is, my brother always talks about is the over sentimentality, which is something I've never really been on board with. I think that Michael Burnham and Sonequa Martin Green in particular, that's just the way she acts. That's her acting style, and I have never had a problem with it. Although there is a bit in episode 5, which I'll get to, which I kind of do see as over sentimentality, but maybe not in the same way that my brother has talked about it. So that's never been a real issue for me. So don't care about that. So overall, Discovery has started well in this season. We'll see if it continues on. Now, I do want to touch on the episodes with a particular focus on the most recent one, episode 5, um, because on my Facebook page, which you should all follow, I'll put a link in the description below so you can follow me on Facebook. On my Facebook page, I did do written reviews for the first 4 episodes. I decided not to do one for episode 5 since I was planning to do this video anyway. It gives me a chance to talk in more depth about episode 5. Um, so we'll go kind of very briefly, quickly over the first 4 and then focus on episode 5. Um, so let's go ahead and get into that. So the first 2 episodes I thought were just a solid start to the season. And I gave them each an 8 out of 10. Again, you can see more details on my Facebook page where I wrote more of a review on them. But episode 2 in particular, I want to focus on an idea that I brought up in my episode 4 review, which is this idea that it seems like they knew this was the last season of Discovery. Like, are we sure they didn't know? Because there's a great scene between Burnham and Saru, a couple of them actually. One in the middle of the episode when they're in that jungle before shit starts going crazy, and one at the end of the episode where it serves as a goodbye to Saru, and they stop and they reminisce about how far they've come as characters and how far they've grown as friends and all these things, and I was just like, so this wasn't planned to be the last season? We're sure about that. We're sure. Um, um, and then that of course is further exaggerated in episode 4, but I'll get to that in a second. Um, Episode 3, um, not necessarily that feeling of feels like a final season, but I was pleased when we finally get a great performance by Wilson Cruz. Always liked him as an actor. Always liked this character, Cobra. I still never really got on board with bringing him back to life. Like, if you want him to stay on the show, don't kill him off. But let bygones be bygones. That's in the past now. Um, I always love visiting Trill, and I loved this idea of Culber being possessed by this um, old Trill who was a part of the episode of The Chase. I mean, retconned into it. He wasn't on screen, but was one of the scientists who hid all the clues. And he was just fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic. And this is the episode where I was like, you know what? If we're gonna get into this format of, um, we're chasing after these clues. It's Indiana Jones Adventure Time kind of thing, and we're chasing after this big MacGuffin. I say lean into it, lean into that trope, and I didn't mind that they did the at the beginning of the episode. It was like the guy going, "You may pass by me if you can answer my questions 3." And it's just like, yeah, you have to answer this riddle, which was kind of a lame riddle, but I didn't mind it. I like that they're leaning into that, and the fact that the Cobra character was actually just testing Book and Burnham. I like that. I like that a lot. I thought that worked well, and I thought it was a really good test too. I thought it made a lot of sense. I really enjoyed that episode. This was also an 8 out of 10. So the first 3 episodes I gave an 8 out of 10 to. Then episode 4, Face the Strange, that was the one I gave a 10 out of 10 to in my Facebook review. This to me is one of the best episodes of the series. In fact, I might put it second place to But to Connect from season 4, which is my favorite episode of the series. Um, I think this one is close. I think this was like Shattered from Voyager season 7, but better than Shattered. And this is the one where I'm really scratching my head like, so you weren't planning for this to be the final season? Really? Really? Are you sure about that? Like, it's just because Shattered in season 7 of Voyager was absolutely planned as a tribute to the previous 7 seasons because they knew it was the final season, so it was absolutely intentionally set up that way. And this does the same thing, but I would dare say better, and it is not meant to celebrate Discovery's 5 seasons. really? I don't. I believe them. It's just an incredible coincidence that they've planted all of these seeds that just fit perfectly into a final season. And I think that the main reason that I really love this episode, well, there's a couple reasons, but one of them is the the interactions between Burnham and Rayner and the development of their relationship. I said from the get go that I love this Rayner character, and then I expect him to have some character growth. And episode 3, when he was going around acting like Jellicoe and people were comparing him to Jellicoe, I said, yes, his behavior is like Jellicoe, but the difference is going to be that Rayner is going to have some character development, and Jellicoe never got any. Jellicoe, even when he comes back in Prodigy, same guy. No character development, no changes, same asshole the whole time. Whereas Rayner, yes, he's behaving like Jellicoe, but I predict some character development, is what I said in episode 3. And I didn't even have to wait but 1 week and some serious character development with him, and you buy it. It wasn't forced, it wasn't rushed. Um, the the actor, what's his name? Keith McCallum. There's 3 names. He has 3 names. Dude from PSG. Fantastic job. Fantastic job. Um, he was on the Ready Room this week, and he was talking about how he usually in sci-fi he does these dystopian characters and dystopian themes. So this was different because it was a more Star Trek more positive, but he kind of brings in a little bit of that dystopian feel for this character, um, and yet this character has a lot of hope. This character is coming back, so I really love this episode. Also, the 2 Burnhams. I mean, just shows how far Burnham's come. And I do like the little um, preview of the possible future, because it sets the stakes for the season. This is what could happen if we don't succeed in our mission. And definitely did remind me of Calypso. I forgot to mention that in my written review. I think that's the closest we're ever going to get to fulfilling Calypso. I think that that's been abandoned. I don't think we'll ever get anything else but this. But I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the entire episode. I gave it a 10 out of 10. If you want more detail, read my review on Facebook. So, episode 5, I haven't reviewed yet. So, here's the thing about episode 5. I got up and I started watching it at like 5 in the morning, uh, and I really hadn't gotten enough sleep. And I don't know, like my brain wasn't fully functioning. I came away after my initial viewing thinking, this is my least favorite episode of the season. I would give it a 7 at most, maybe a 6 out of 10. It's problematic, and I don't know. Um, I think my initial thoughts were about the backstory of Mole and Locke, because I had seen before the season started an interview on Trek Culture with the dude who plays Locke, and he was really talking up episode 5 and how is this going to really bring depth to his character and it's a great backstory. And so all along, as I'm watching the previous episodes, I'm like, yeah, people are complaining about these characters not being developed, but I'm holding out hope, I'm holding out judgment until I see how they're developed, because I saw this interview with this guy talking this up. So I first watched this episode at 5 in the morning and feeling underwhelmed. And I guess I was just underwhelmed by the backstory initially because this guy really talked it up. And I was like, that's it? You're doing the Romeo and Juliet thing? That's your big backstory? Eh. Like, that was my initial reaction. Then, to my surprise, like everybody loved this episode, and even my brother gave it a 9 out of 10. I was almost certain he was going to give it a 6 or something, um, and then I don't know. I started sitting with it some more, and like now I was awake and like in my right mind, um, and I started thinking, actually, it's a Romeo and Juliet thing, but it gives depth to these characters. It gives you some empathy for them, even though you're still realizing, based off of episode 4, when we saw the possible stakes, that they have to be stopped at all costs. But you have empathy for their plight. Um, I also, I think I was a little iffy at first on Book and Maul's interactions, I should say, but they kind of really got close to this line that I didn't want them to cross, where I didn't want it to be too sappy, where Book like, "Oh, I knew your father, man, you know my father," and like I hope that that's not where they end up going. And um, I would like to see this character redeemed a little bit, but not to the point where it gets ridiculous and sappy. So, and they didn't cross that line yet, and I hope they don't later. So, as it turns out, it was okay. But I think the thing that really brought this episode up for me, um, upon reflection and sitting on it, is what I mentioned earlier, is the Breen. I actually really into their explanation for the Breen, as a complex and interesting species that underneath it, they have two layers. There's like this liquid layer, and that's like their true selves, and nobody's ever allowed to see underneath that. Is the fact that he's even walking around without his helmet or his liquid layer, that's just like a big no-no for the Breen. Um, I'm really looking forward to getting more into the Brain. I love it. So, um, sitting on all that, I've now raised this rating up to an 8, which is the same as episodes 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, 3, and 5 are all an 8 out of 10. I still have some nitpicks on episode 8. Um, First of all, this isn't, or episode 5, I should say. I just said 8 out of 10 for episode 5. Um, this isn't like a critique or anything negative, but the ISS Enterprise, eh, I mean, it's fine. They needed to use the sets of Strange New Worlds to save money, so they did that. You can't do the USS Enterprise because we know what happened with that. That wouldn't make any sense. We never really found out what happened to the ISS Enterprise, so let's put that in there so that we can use the sets from Strange New Worlds. Fine, that's fine. I am neither impressed by this nor disappointed. I'm not blown away. I'm like, oh yeah, they had the ISS Enterprise, woo! Like, I don't care. It's yeah, they had to reuse the sets of Stranger Worlds. That's fine. It is what it is. I am also not disappointed by it. I'm not one of those people sitting there going, "Well, they should have done more with this. I'm so disappointed that they missed all these opportunities." I'm talking about Trek Culture. Sean from Trek Culture was one of the people saying this. They missed opportunities here. They could have had Pike. They could have had Spock. Obviously, the only way they could have had those characters is by like a video, or like you could have had Burnham finding her. Um, Brothers Mirror Universe counterparts log, like you can have had Ethan Peck with the beard, with the goatee doing a log. Would that have been cool? Sure, but did I feel like we needed that? No, I'm fine without it. It's fine. I don't feel like we're missing anything. I don't feel like there's any missed opportunities or anything like that. It's fine. So the ISS Enterprise, it's fine. It's neither impressive nor disappointing. That's how I see it. It is what it is. It served its purpose in the story. Um, I think my biggest critique of this episode is something I've never heard anyone else mention, and that's this really head scratching storyline between Tilly and Culber. Like, I guess no one mentions it because it's a very forgettable storyline, but I didn't forget it because it just was so out of place. Um, this is where I might see a little bit of over sentimentality. Is that Tilly is going into sickbay and she's rushing, rushing. Oh, it's an important mission. She's got to hurry up and do this. This is a big deal. She's got to do this. And she stops, looks at Colbert and goes, "Oh, how are you doing? Are you okay? I'm here for you, but you don't have time for that." Also, am I forgetting when Colbert and Tilly established a connection? Maybe. I mean, I very well could be. I haven't rewatched a lot of the episodes recently, so maybe there's some episodes in the past where they have a strong bond. I don't. Probably there is. I just don't remember it. So I'm like, why do they have the like? Why is she stopping in this middle of important task to be like, "Oh, how are you feeling?" Like, you gotta do that some other time. And then the payoff at the end was just a rehash of the conversation Colbert already had with Burnham in episode 3, so it was completely a waste of time. Thankfully, the storyline didn't take up that much runtime of the episode, which why ultimately it doesn't hurt the episode that much. It is a little head scratching too. And also, there's another thing, and this took up almost no time in the runtime, but also pointless, which was when Adira said, "Well, I'm the one who brought the time bug onto the ship," and Stamets says something like, "Well, you didn't mean to. It's not your fault." And like, "Well, I did it," or something. Did we need that? Was there any point to that? Is that going to be followed up on? Do I even want it to be followed up on? It seemed like, yeah, another head scratching choice, although another one that didn't take up that much time, so whatever. But it's interesting. Um, so yeah, um, 8 out of 10 for episode 5. Um, so if I were to give a rating for the first half of the season, I guess I would give it an 8.5. But I don't typically give ratings for half of a season. Um, I will give an overall rating for the whole season when this is all said and done. All right, everyone, thank you for joining me for my mid-season review for Star Trek Discovery. I will be back at the end of the season to do my full season review for Star Trek Discovery Season 5. I will also most likely be doing a discussion with Mark on Enchantment of Eternity at the end of the season as well. So keep an eye on that. Please subscribe if you have not already. Follow me on Facebook for more written reviews of Discovery episodes, and I will see you all. Bye.